Just got 2 seconds here.
This
I
is
appreciate y'all. Hit the like button.
WNYX-HD2,
Got some serious stuff to
Miami.
discuss today. Kind of in a deep thinking mood. Yes, good afternoon and welcome. It's the Suzette Speaks Show. How you doing? It's a thankful Thursday in my book. We call it Throwback Old School Thursday here. Big up Humble Lion and the crew. Wow, I really enjoyed the set. Trust me, I was in my car jamming to the Whitney Houston. Trust and believe. Took me back. Throwbacks indeed. So all day, all of our wonderful DJs will be playing the best in old school just for you. So enjoy the mix as I always do. Welcome. If you're just joining me for the first time, my name is Suzette Speaks, your hostess with the mostest right here on Voice of the Caribbean. I talk about hot topics. When I tell you there's some hottest, straight off the press topics, wow. I couldn't sleep last night. That's how hot the topics are. So I'll just tell you, we're going to get deep. Hit the like button if you're watching me on the YouTube side. Big up everybody who has downloaded the app. Did you know you could get us wherever you are? Yes, we are worldwide. Just go to your app store and download Voice of the Caribbean. Yes, big up Mike and Mike anyway I'm there. Big up Miss Jim, big up Miss Lisa B, and of course Humble Lion for a wonderful, like I say, throwback set in the midday just right. But we got to get to some serious business, y'all. I have a personal matter to deal with. And again, if it's something that is on my mind and I see about it in the social media trends, or I see it, I should say, in the social media zeitgeist, or I see it trending and all that. I know everybody's talking about Meg the Stallion and Clay Thompson, the big breakup. If you do not know, trust me, it's been all over certain feeds, certain algorithms. I realize all of us don't have the same algorithm. So if your algorithm is like mine, I've been seeing a lot of Clay Thompson and a lot of Meg the Stallion. But there's so much more important things that are going on that I do want to highlight that gonna it's just gonna affect our democracy in such a profound way. I almost made a call today to a lady who we're not friends, we're colleagues, I would say. She made a statement yesterday during the Florida House of Representatives sessions that has gone viral. So what is all this talk about? Some people may not know, and I know, for example, I have family members that don't keep up with the news the way I do. So we're going to use this platform to try to edutain is what I call it. And of course, the opinions expressed here on the Suzette Speak Show by the host, the guest callers, are that of the host only and do not necessarily reflect that of our station ownership or management. Viewer discretion is advised. So, yeah, we're going to get to it because, like I said, there's a heavy, heavy landmark decision that just came out of the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. And I am, again, as an attorney, I'm just going to be analytical today. I think some of you have heard me talk about the importance of registering to vote, and even if you're registered, getting to the point where we're all checking our registration. Why? Because so many of us have been deactivated without even knowing it, and there are so many people who are going to get to the polls later on this year, God's willing, that will get to a polling site and then be told, oh, I'm so sorry, you've been deactivated. You no longer can vote. So we are very concerned about this and as a community. And again, I want to just emphasize and encourage everyone who's listening. If you or someone in your household, right, is registered to vote, it is free, it is easy to go on your supervisor of elections websites. Why? Because unfortunately, so many new laws and rules are being applied to our voter rolls. And so things that were very common and easy to do and very open and accessible are no longer open and accessible. So we have seen a trend where a lot of voters who think they're active have been deactivated. What are some reasons, Suzette? You're making me nervous. Why would I have been deactivated? Well, for example, if your driver's license is not up to date after July 1st of last year, July 1st of 2025, state of Florida issued all new driver's license numbers if you got a renewed or updated license, driver's license. So what does that mean? That means oftentimes now, over the last, how many months has that been? 8 or 9 months? When you look at your voter registration, your license and your voter registration no longer match. The new number that you have on your ID, on your driver's license, may not match what is currently on file with your supervisor of elections. So it's very important for every other reason you can think of. Check your voter status now. Again, it's not for me to tell you who to vote for. It's not for me to tell you why it's important to vote. But we're going to talk about some consequences of our elections here today. The Supreme Court yesterday, in a 6-3 decision, I couldn't even sleep last night. I can't even tell you how disturbed I was by the outcome of a case that originated in Louisiana. In this case, there were plaintiffs, people who brought the lawsuit that said they were being harmed because, according to the maps drawn, and I'm going to keep hammering this idea of the maps drawn, because in Florida, we have something similar happening where the election maps, or what we call the electoral maps, where the borders for the districts are drawn by who? The state legislature, right? So we have elected officials that go to Tallahassee, and we have elected officials that go to Washington, D.C., right? Well, the ones that go to Tallahassee to represent us in the state of Florida, to the government or for the government of Florida, for the governor, attorney general of Florida, chief financial officer of Florida, and the commissioner of agriculture of Florida. For those officers that are chosen to run the state, we have statewide officers that are chosen to help run the state of Florida. They are made up of 120 districts of the State House of Representatives and 40 districts of the Florida State Senate. So just like you have a State House of Representatives and a State Senate, you have it in Washington, D.C., people who represent us on the national level, right? Everybody knows this. We're taking Civics 101. But I just want to make sure I lay the foundation in case there are people who may not know. And that's okay, too. We're here to make sure we all stay informed. So you have representatives that go to the national government that's run by the President of the United States, the national Supreme Court, the top court in the land, the National Congress, which is the United States House of Representatives, and United States Senate. But we also have the same going on in Florida. Well, this case that came down from the United States Supreme Court has to do with how states in their capitals draw the districts that elect officials that go to both the state capital to represent them and to the national capital to represent us. So why does this matter? Well, when people are drawing districts, it is very important that the people who live in the district have representation that reflects them. What does that mean, Suzette? Well, I mean, in terms of their ideas, their lived experience, right? Their viewpoints of the world. And sometimes that does mean, but not always means, a similar party, a political party, but it can mean the same political party. Well, when our state legislators, those are the people that go to Tallahassee to represent us on the state level, when they decide to draw maps, it makes an impact on who gets to be the majority in the state legislature. That means it will impact how many people of one party or another get to represent the people in Tallahassee, and in turn get to represent the people in Washington, D.C. Suzette, make it plain. I'm trying to break it down as slow as I can and as basic as I can. Y'all hit the like button if you're watching online. If you're watching me in the studio, big up yourself. Actually, the video don't look that good. My head is almost cut off. But big up everybody watching on voiceofthecaribbean.com. Yes, you can check us out what we look like in the studio on voiceofthecaribbean.com. Your girl is wearing the lime, not quite green, lime yellow. Getting ready for a very busy weekend. Yours truly will be hosting. You guys know I love to attend events, host events, and I host events for people. And I have very special events coming up. This weekend I'll be hosting an infertility summit. Wow. A young lady who I've known for quite some time now, who felt called due to her own journey, helping understand what it's like to, not be able to have a child and realize how difficult it is to have a child for a lot of people. I don't know. People say it's the food. I don't know. But anyway, due to her own journey, through battling, miscarriage and rounds of in vitro and things that a lot of people, I'm talking about, she was in her 30s, young woman. And she's felt called to help other people now. And she invited me to host this infertility summit. So if you want more information about that, you can visit Voice of the Caribbean on all social media or visit me, Suzette Speaks, 1Z, Suzette, two T's, 1Z. Suzette Speaks with an S. Yeah, check me out. And I'd love to have you, especially if you have a loved one or you yourself, perhaps. Men are welcome too. Men suffer from infertility. Hello, somebody. Then we want to talk about it, but it impacts men as well. Both if they are medically impacted by infertility they themselves, or if their partner is in fact impacted by infertility, they too have issues and deep disappointment, grief, all of that goes with it. So I'm excited. I know it's a deep topic, but I'll be doing that in Wilton Manors on Saturday. Sunday, I'm really excited. Bring me up. Hey, yours truly, Suzette Speaks, will be the hostess with the mostest at the Broward Black Beauty Expo. Let's go. 2026 Black Beauty Expo. Shout out Broward County. Yay. I was just actually trying on dresses. I'm like, Black Beauty Expo. What should I wear? I don't know. Are y'all going dressed up? I'm trying to be like, do I have to look like a work of art? What do I have to look like? It's pressure when you come through as the host, but I am go through the class. I don't know if I can buy nothing at this time, but everybody's watching their pennies right now. Everybody, you feel me? So however we feel, we're going to step out with confidence, in grace, and in love for one another, and I'm sure it's going to bless somebody. So whether you come out on Saturday to the Infertility Survivors Day Summit, I appreciate you again for having me as the hostess with Moses at that event Saturday, Wilton Manors. I think it'll be at the Handy building. That starts at 1, it finishes at 5. Lots of experts, lots of personal testimonies. I'm really, really grateful to be a part of such a wonderful event. And then on Sunday, I'm looking forward to joining the ladies of the 2026 Black Beauty Expo. Let's go. Sunrise, Florida, let's go. And yours truly will be helping to unpack several conversations about beauty, health, business. And it's important to be in community right now with everything going on, y'all. So that's why I'm making sure you know what's happening in the community. Also, the celebrity football match. How could I forget? I don't know if I'll have time today to give away a ticket or two. But the whole crew, including Voice of the Caribbean and Just a Flex, sponsored by Vice Mayor Richard Campbell, City of Lauderhill. We will be in the building Memorial Monday. What you doing Memorial Weekend? Are y'all ready? By the time you blink, Memorial Weekend is here. Wow. I can't wait. Movie. Oh, also a reminder, if you have a business in the state of Florida, today is the last day to renew your SunBiz without a $400 penalty, my business owners. So if you have not filed your annual report, remember, this is not legal advice. This is just for informational purposes. But today is the last day in the state of Florida to renew your business license, right? Your state of Florida annual report is due. That is today. And then after today, tomorrow, actually make sure you look. SunBiz. Tell a friend if they own a business. Make sure they have filed their annual report, because the business becomes inactive if not filed. And then it will take $400, thank you, state of Florida, to renew. Anyway, so now that we got a couple of housekeeping matters out of the way, celebrity football match May 25th. I heard y'all naming off the people. Y'all want me to name the people so you'll be able to win the tickets? Because some of you guys were a little rusty. We're not calling on them. Big up all of my callers, them. But some of you guys were a little rusty. I couldn't win no tickets. You got to know who's going to play in order to win. Lukey D. Ibamar. Christopher Martin. I heard you name him like 3 times. Chuck Fender. The one, the only Tony Mataran. My DJ, yeah. I don't know if he can play a ball, but I'm going to be cheering for him. Lolly. Y'all already got that. Joshy, you know that. Mr. Lex. They didn't want you to name Dex Adapts because everybody know Dex Adapts will be out there. For the ladies, Tony Curtis. We already know Mad Cobra in the building. Flex in the Complex. Jixie King. They don't want you to name Mikey Mike. Wayne Wonder. Nigel Blair, of course. Fata Diamond. Louis Spree, my DJ. First of all, Louis Spree, can I just tell you, when I listen to our radio station, because yes, I listen to my own radio station, Louis Spree's international mix yesterday, because on Wednesdays we call it, I think Candice, I heard her say Fusion Wednesdays, but down here we call it International Wednesdays, right? So on Wednesdays, if you listen to us, we play some mixes with music from all around the world. Louis Spree, I should have texted him, played one of the best Afrobeat mixes yesterday. I was coming from getting a massage and a facial. You know your girl gotta keep it up. Hey, the one little piece of self-care me can do for myself. Me get a massage. I got a 90-minute massage. Boy, I needed massage. First of all, shout out to Magda on the massage. When I say your girl hips and thighs was locked in and the girl put that elbow on me, said me cry. Because I'm one that likes the deep tissue. I do like the deep tissue. Some of y'all only like the Swedish. I don't do Swedish. I do deep tissue. When I go to the massage, I like it to hurt me. I don't know what I do. And I mean it in a good way because it loosens up your muscles. And I'm telling you, I needed it. I skipped it last month. I was so busy and we traveled going to Jamaica Carnival and everything else. So your girl never gets our massage last month. So it's been like a whole 8 weeks and I've been working out hard. You know your girl. Gotta keep it fit. Summertime is upon us. And I've been lifting weights, going hard in the gym. Shout out to my trainer. And the massage yesterday, I'm drinking, let me get some sips of water right now. Because that's the type of massage it was. I need to flush out all of this lactic acid. If you are in the gym like myself, I'm sure there are many of you that go way harder than me. But the massage makes a difference. I don't stretch enough. I love to stretch before, but I don't really stretch after. And I realize it's catching up with me a bit. Okay, fine. Not to digress, make sure you get your tickets now. You can get a discount. Let me give you my discount code. Celebrity Football Match. If you go on Eventbrite, Celebrity Football Match, if you just type in an Eventbrite, Celebrity Football Match, I'm sure you'll find it. You can use my last name, Speaks, just like Speaks with an S. Yeah, Speaks. For a discount on your ticket, $5 off right now. I'm gonna maybe give out tickets later or maybe tomorrow. We'll see how I feel after I discuss this heavier topic. But y'all ready for the serious business? All right, we get some of the announcements out of the way. Serious business coming up with what has happened in the Supreme Court. Like I told you guys, I just gotta keep it light to keep myself from becoming very, very tormented by what happened yesterday. As a scholar, I would call it. I read books, I read articles, I try to stay on top of whatever is happening in the world, obviously to help break it down for all of you. But this one is very difficult to swallow. This pill right here yesterday that the Supreme Court dealt the country. I'm going to read it from the AP, the Associated Press, in order just to give you the facts. Let's look at the facts of the case because the case that was decided yesterday will change what I was talking about earlier, the voting lines, and therefore the majority control of one party and how the states have the opportunity now to favor one party versus another party instead of making fair districts that give minorities access to fair representation. Now, before I start to break it down, hit the like button online. Shout out to everybody watching on the Suzette Speaks Show. You can follow me on YouTube, Suzette Speaks. Big up me. Yeah. You know, I like to keep it busy in the streets. Remember, you're listening to the Voice of the Caribbean on WLYF 101.5 FM HD2, serving Monroe, all the way down to the Keys, y'all. Monroe, Miami-Dade, Broward, what's up, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach County, simulcasting on 96.9 FM, y'all. Big up yourself. If you don't have the app, download the app. Take us wherever you go. Anyway, so serious topic now. Let me lock in. The Supreme Court, according to the Associated Press, has hollowed out the Voting Rights Act. This is really a concern. I told y'all elections matter, and I told y'all this is going to be something that is impacting our community literally. This can't really be undone so quickly. Well, we just saw the Supreme Court in a 6-3 decision due yesterday. But according to the Associated Press, an article published earlier today, Supreme Court entitled Supreme Court Hollows Out a Landmark Law that has protected minority voting for 6 decades. Let's say this is the title will tell you what's going on. Supreme Court, that's the United States Supreme Court, hollows out a landmark law that has protected minority voting for 6 decades. Let's get into it. An article updated just this morning by Gary Fields and Kim Chandler of the Associated Press. We're going to some history first, y'all. Who signed the Voting Rights Act? This is the law that's being impacted. Well, President Lyndon B. Johnson, this was in the 1960s, 1965 to be exact, knew the legislation he was about to sign was momentous, one that took courage for members of Congress to pass, since the vote could cost them their seats. This is the history given by the Associated Press in an article just published yesterday and updated today. To honor that, this is what happened when the Voting Rights Act was signed by Lyndon Johnson. Who was the president at the time. To honor that, Lyndon Johnson took the unusual step of leaving the Oval Office and going to Capitol Hill for the signing ceremony at that time. It was August 6, 1965, 5 months after an event called Bloody Sunday. If I might have to teach a little bit today about some American history, which is our history, because if it wasn't for the fight, the struggle of African Americans, those of us who've come here as immigrants would not have opportunities that we have. And it's very important that we learn about and that we honor and that we become engaged in the process, the political process, in a peaceful way, so that all of these battles that had been won, not just by talking, they were by protests, by marching, by sit-in, by lockout, by bus boycott, by being attacked while they went to church, being attacked with dogs, being attacked with fire hoses, being kept from voting decade after decade, but still holding fast to the dream that was realized in 1965 by the Voting Rights Act. Now, according to the Associated Press's article, the bill was signed, the Voting Rights Act was signed August 6, 1965, 5 months after the Bloody Sunday attack, which happened in Selma, Alabama, where civil rights marchers they were attacked on the bridge, the Edmund Pettus Bridge. This is one that John Lewis often talks about, where people protested, people of all different races, all different colors came together to protest inequality under the law. After that attack, 5 months later, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed. That bill was signed on the Capitol steps by President Lyndon B. Johnson, and it began, the name for it became known as the Voting Rights Act. Well, according to the Associated Press, in the 6 decades since, it became one of the most consequential laws in the nation's history, preventing discrimination against minorities at the ballot box and helping to elect thousands of Black and Hispanic representatives at all levels of government. Listen to this, Associated Press is reporting. However, yesterday, and I got to take a quick break, on Wednesday, the United States Supreme Court knocked out a major pillar of the law that had protected against racial discrimination in voting and representation. It was a decision that came more than a decade after the court undermined another key tenet of the law and led to restrictive voting laws in a number of states. Voting and civil rights advocates were left fearful of what lies ahead for minority communities. But did you understand what happened yesterday in the United States Supreme Court? Well, I'm going to break it down to you. I have to take, let me just tell you, I'm a little flummoxed here. I have to take a quick break. We're going to talk about what this Supreme Court decision actually means. This is a case that originated out of Louisiana. However, because the Supreme Court is the law of the land, it now is applied to all states. Did you know? There's so much to talk about. I'm up on a hard break. Keep it locked. Don't go anywhere. More Suzette Speaks show right after this.
The city of Lauderdale, the voice of the Caribbean, and Just a Flex.
I'm getting a little emotional. Shouldn't get emotional, but I am. It's very bothersome to me, but here you go. Calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. I might have to put on my glasses, y'all. Where are my glasses? Give me a second. Give me a second, please. Let me turn on the air.
96.9 FM is opening up brand new advertising opportunities serving Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach. We're offering flexible, affordable ad packages designed for local businesses ready to make big moves. Reach the Caribbean American community with music, news, and culture they trust. Call us at 954-999-0070 or 954-999-0134. And let's put your brand on the airwaves with the voice of the Caribbean.
The voice of the Caribbean. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yes, welcome back. It's the Suzette Speak Show. I'm thankful that you're here with me. Your girl is going through all of the feelings, all the emotions because of the landmark Supreme Court. I am just a human being, just like you. Although I am an attorney, some people think that is my only identity. Actually, that's a very small part of actually who I am on a day-to-day basis. You know, your girl has a lot more going on in her life. I tell you, I am a complex person. I have thankfully have many talents, thanks be to God, many interests. In many ways, I hope to impact the community, and one of which is being a part of the community here at Voice of the Caribbean. We like to bring you stories that impact our community, make a difference to you. Again, I could talk about social media trends. I know there's a lot being said about Klay Thompson and Meg the Stallion. If you didn't know, celebrity couple breakup, you know, that always makes headlines, and how she's being treated and whether he's going live and all the rest of it. Your girl could stay on that. I could. But there's so much more serious topics that is happening, one of which is a Supreme Court decision that happened yesterday, and I'm going to try my best to just stay composed, because I already, as a community advocate and activist, I already see the impact that this is going to have on our communities, all minority communities, whether you're immigrant, whether you're foundational Black American, whether you're Hispanic. Listen, our brothers and sisters from the Hispanic community, a lot of the representation is, particularly here in Miami, is going to switch up. The people who have been elected in basically throughout the United States, in statewide elections, in local elections, and those who are elected to represent us in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., is based on how districts are drawn. So who draws the districts? Meaning the area in which a person must run. And the people within that district gets to decide the person that's going to represent them, either on the state level, that's in Tallahassee for us, here in Florida, or on the national level, that's in Washington, D.C. So we elect people to hopefully reflect our values, hopefully reflect our life experiences, reflect how we would want somebody to treat the issues that we care about when they go to Tallahassee or when they go to Washington, D.C. Now, what's going to happen? First, let me just give you a little bit more understanding as to what the Supreme Court decided. Now, according to the Associated Press, this is a quote from somebody named Mr. Cliff Albright. Actually, I've seen his name before. He's actually from Black Voters Matter. In this Associated Press article published yesterday. And the article is entitled, Supreme Court Hollows Out a Landmark Law That Had Protected Minority Voting Rights for 6 Decades. Now, Mr. Albright's commentary as a part of this reporting states, quote, it means that you have entire communities that can go without having representation, said Cliff Albright, a co-founder of the group Black Voters Matter. Quote, it is literally throwing us back to, and this is Mr. Cliff Albright's quote, it is literally throwing us back to the Jim Crow era. That is when it was legal to openly discriminate, not only at one end discriminate, but commit acts of violence without any legal repercussions against Black people, where in the United States, that time in history during Jim Crow, this is the early 1900s, where Black people were relegated and kept out of the political and economic prosperity of a country and subjugated to be second-class citizens. So think about what this man has just said. Cliff Albright is saying what the Supreme Court's decision yesterday towards the Voting Rights Act means is that we are being thrown back into Jim Crow. Did you just hear how I described what Jim Crow actually was? Where we had state sanctioned, meaning it was a part of our body of law at the time. If you look up the laws that existed, and some of them are actually still on the books, we just don't follow them anymore. They were openly discriminatory towards Black people. We couldn't live certain places. We couldn't have certain jobs. We couldn't have access to bank loans. We couldn't have access to ownership in many different realms and aspects of life. It was the very least to say you couldn't ride transportation with other people who didn't look like you in the same streetcar. Dred Scott. You had to sit at the back of the bus because at that time, unfortunately, the judicial ethos in our country was to say, Plessy v. Ferguson, the law, the courts got it wrong then, and was to say separate but equal was okay, but we know that it wasn't equal. So here we are looking to our Supreme Court yet again, and we have seen a gentleman comment to the Associated Press in this article saying that in his opinion, what took place yesterday at the Supreme Court is, and again I will quote Mr. Cliff Albright, the co-founder of the group Black Voters Matter, he's saying, quote, "It is literally throwing us back to the Jim Crow era unapologetically, and that's not an exaggeration." His quote, not mine. Kareem Creighton, according to the Associated Press, vice president of the Brennan Center for Justice's Washington office, said the court's steady work to erode, that means to chip away at, that means to break down, eroding the Voting Rights Act, has culminated in Wednesday's decision, which happened yesterday, amounted to, this is Mr. Kareem Creighton from the Brennan Center for Justice, Washington, D.C.'s office, said what happened yesterday in the Supreme Court, it amounted to not just eroding the Civil Rights Act, it's being quoted by the Associated Press, he's saying it's burying it without the funeral. So you can have a law on the books and it has no teeth. It's not really enforceable. It's a rollback. It's still quote unquote there, but according to Mr. Creighton, his assessment of what happened yesterday, and you just woke up and had your coffee. I know, guys, I know. You just had your lunch. I know. It's heavy. I know. You went for your break. You're walking around. You listen to Voice of the Caribbean in your car. I get it. And you're saying to yourself, really, Sue? This is what's happening? Well, according to the Associated Press, what we are witnessing, and again, this is a subtitle in the article, hollowing out America's, quote, greatest legislative landmark. You have to remember that unfortunately, before 1965 in our country, there were harsh realities for Black people. Melanated people were not treated fairly under the law. They did not have the same access to education. I actually just saw something on Instagram that showed a gentleman's rejection from, I forget what Ivy League school, Black scholar at the time. It was pre-1965. And he had applied, and I forget, it was either a medical school or dental school. And they politely, but shockingly by today's standards, wrote him back and said, guess what? You're not allowed in our med school. And they put in the letter, because you're black. They put, like, this was a university at the time. We don't really think about racism as an overt thing. Right now in this society, we tend to think of it as kind of like hush hush, or covert thing. But that there was a time in America pre-1965 where when someone stepped on you, it wasn't quiet. It was very open. It was threatening. It prevented you from living in pursuit of life, liberty, and what we say in the Constitution, the pursuit of happiness. Only a few in America were allowed that constitutional given right. I would call it God-given right. But instead, we have an outcome yesterday, according to the Associated Press, the Supreme Court's ruling. My God, the Supreme Court's ruling came in a congressional redistrict. Remember I told you about drawing the districts? That's where we started. Drawing the maps of where the district lines in a state. If you have 120 seats, how do you draw the 120 districts so people can get elected? If you have 40 Senate seats in the state of Florida, how do you draw the districts for the 40 senators? What communities are grouped into one district? Are there black access district is what we call them in the political activist jargon, meaning can black people actually get elected? Or are you drawing them so that a thick or very highly represented black community is cut in 3 or 4 and a little bit is in every other district, so it's diluted? So no black person can actually get elected because you put a little bit of Miami Gardens in this district, a little bit of Miami Gardens in that district, a little bit of Miami Gardens in a third district, so that the majority of people in that district are never going to be black. Black people have been, what they call it, stacked or packed. There's jargon about or language that goes with this type of issue, but I don't want to get too deep into the language. I just want you to understand what's being said. So the Supreme Court's ruling came yesterday in a congressional redistricting case out of Louisiana, after the state created a district that gave the state its second black representative to Congress. So I'm telling you, in Tallahassee, when the state legislature meets, every 10 years, they're supposed to draw the districts. Remember, we had a big story that came out of Texas not too long ago, where because the President of the United States had said to Texas, we need you to redraw the districts mid-decade, which is highly unusual. It's usually done with the census. And the census in the United States, right, taking account of the United States population, happens every 10 years. So we saw what started in Texas, or maybe even before that, I'll say, but what made headlines in the case in Texas was that, oh, we're going to make sure we draw the lines so that more of one party can get elected and less of the other party, so that one party will stay in power. Well, what happened in Louisiana in the case that was brought before the Supreme Court is that there was a district drawn that ultimately elected a second black representative to Congress, meaning Louisiana got to be about a third or 40% black. And let me get a proper population. Don't quote me. Let me get a proper population. But they had only had one black congressperson, one black representative from a district in Louisiana to go to the United States Capitol, to D.C. So the state legislature drew a second district, which allowed a black person, which happened to be a Democrat, to also become elected and get to Congress to represent the people of Louisiana and Washington, D.C. Now, what the Supreme Court of the United States ruled yesterday in a decision from 6-3, 6 conservatives for it, 3 more progressive justices against it, it found that the map that was made by Louisiana that elected a second black person to go to Congress, according to the Associated Press, it found that the map was unconstitutional, gerrymandered. Gerrymander means making a district out of its normal course, or not allowing the majority of a group or population to have an opportunity to become elected, because the district is basically drawn to give one party a majority and make that district most likely to be a person elected in that party's favor. So it would make sense to look like, a complete black community, neighborhood, city in one district to give an access point for someone from that community to be able to be elected. No, they're going to cut that black community into 5 little specks and put them in 5 different districts. So now you have a majority, say, for example, of Republicans in the districts with a little bit of black folks and communities interspersed, instead of putting all the black people together so that they could actually make an impact on who wins the district. Do you understand what I'm saying? You follow? So yesterday, according to the Associated Press, the Supreme Court found that Louisiana's map was an unconstitutional gerrymander because it took race into account to draw the lines. In the opinion, according to the Associated Press's article written by Justice Samuel Alito, the court's conservative majority said the provision of the Voting Rights Act in question, called Section 2, was designed to protect voters from, get this, intentional discrimination. Now let's keep going. Justice Elena Kagan, however, in her dissent, those are the people that disagree with the ruling, the 3 women that were in the minority of the ruling, 6, remember there are 9 on the Supreme Court, takes 5 to win the ruling. In this case, 6 of the conservative justices voted together, and 3 in the minority wrote or signed onto this dissent, which is the minority, if you will, losing side, but they want to still write and be heard as to why they believe the decision should have gone the other way. Well, Justice Elena Kagan in her dissent said the bar to show intentional discrimination is a, quote, almost insurmountable barrier for challenges to any voting rights issue to prove discrimination. So this is what we're saying. Listen what the Supreme Court is saying now. In order for a district to be called an unconstitutional gerrymander, meaning a drawing of a district to disenfranchise, to lessen the power of those who live in that specific proposed district, now, in order to prove that the district should be drawn differently, the bar now is set that the plaintiff in such a case has to prove intentional discrimination. Think about that. How many people do you know, or maybe you have encountered yourself, are going to say out loud in front of your face, I'm intentionally discounting the black voters of this district by putting only 10% of that city in this district. I'm discounting the power of black voters in that other district because I'm going to only put 5% of that city in that district. And I won't put all the black voters together in one district so that they actually have a chance of voting someone who reflects their lived experience, their values. Instead, we have to pretend that everything is being done for another reason. Think about that. In the United States, a lot of the intent versus the outcome is how, in the past, some of these cases have been really viewed by the Supreme Court. No one actually says we intend to keep black people from voting an elected representative like themselves. They will have the outcome of such, and that implicit bias was enough. Now the Supreme Court has changed the standard under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act to say, according to Justice Elena Kagan in this Associated Press article, in her dissent, she said the bar to show intentional discrimination is, quote, an almost insurmountable barrier for challenges to any voting rights issues to prove discrimination, meaning it's impossible to show intentional discrimination. Intentional discrimination. How many people have seen discrimination that was intentional, but how do you prove it when you cannot prove by the outcome? You have to prove that the person had the thinking, and when they were drawing it, they were openly racist or openly discriminatory. People don't do that, but they still make maps that don't reflect the people. Now, if you go online, I've reposted a couple of these. Look at the map of the state of Florida now, and then the proposed map in the future. It's going to cut down. I think we have 8 African Americans representing congressional districts in the state of Florida. If they are allowed to redraw it without any type of legal Voting Rights Act provision that will stop them, the potential now is to go from 8 representatives to 4 congressional representatives who are African American. Look at the state of Florida. Look at how diverse we are. Look at the communities we live in, especially in South Florida. And to think that our congressional representation by African Americans will be cut in half from 8 people. Think about the body of the Congress. The Congress is 435 members. Those are our representatives that we elect to go to Washington, D.C., 435 in the whole country. And 8 of them happen to be African Americans from Florida. But now with the new proposed map, I wonder if I should invite her on the program tomorrow. I might invite the lady on the program tomorrow who was just standing, I don't know if she'll be in session, but who was standing on the Florida House floor during the debate, and how she stood up in her pink jumpsuit with her bullhorn in hand. Who am I speaking about? I'm speaking about Florida State Representative Angie Nixon. And I might invite her to come on the show tomorrow to talk about what's really happening in the Florida Capitol. Because again, life is continuing. We still got bills to pay. We still got, all the stresses that are happening because of this war. Let me finish out with some audio from some special reports and things that how important this landmark. I try to explain it to you guys as much as I can. And I'm going to keep on this story probably tomorrow because it's so important. The Voting Rights Act has literally been left toothless. The most landmark legislation to forward the cause of equality for African Americans, for Hispanics, to gain equal access to the ballot, to gain access to districts where they can run in and win. That was not always the case. This current Supreme Court has now stated, let me just play the special report. This is the ABC News special report that came out just a day ago, yesterday, where the Supreme Court, once again on Wednesday, in a decision 6-3, delivered a setback. That's what they're calling it, a setback. Well, you know what this means for Black people, for minorities? Listen, I'm gonna have to give you a part 2 about it tomorrow. Let me just play the special report. This is from ABC News.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We're coming on the air because the Supreme Court has just released a major decision which could have a profound impact on the midterm elections. The justices issuing a ruling on a case out of Louisiana involving the Voting Rights Act, redistricting, and whether states must end any consideration of race when redrawing congressional maps. The decision potentially reducing the influence of minority voters and minority representation in Congress. Let's get right to our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, who covers the Supreme Court for us. Devin.
And Kira, this decision is 6-3, written by Justice Samuel.
Thank y'all for rocking with me. Hit the like button, please. You see your girl's a little emotional today, but we get through it.
Which was passed to guarantee equality in how we vote. And of course, addressing the systemic and historic racial discrimination, especially across the South. This decision came in a case out of Louisiana involving a court-ordered drawing addition of a second majority Black district in that state because of the size of the state's population. And the Supreme Court today, in this decision, said that the court violated the 14th Amendment by adding, the state rather, violated the 14th Amendment by adding that district. They used race impermissibly consciously to add a second district to aid those voters. And they said that is simply not allowed under our Constitution. Justice Samuel Alito didn't go as far as saying race can never be used in drawing these maps. That's something the court has affirmed before to comply with the Voting Rights Act, but he put a significant new limit on how courts can order states to draw their maps to be more equitable. He said that Section 2 imposes liability only when evidence supports a strong inference that the state intentionally drew its map to discriminate. So
listen to that.
Minority voters in Louisiana, and now Kira, the impact of this decision is going to start to ripple across the country.
What can you do? This is, again, thank you for listening. This is the Suzette Speaks Show. I got to wrap up. The Louisiana versus Callais case is what we've been discussing all day because it's just that important. This is something that, again, will have a very crucial impact on minority districts across the country. And the majority who voted for this were the conservative justices, Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, Samuel Alito, and what's his name? Gorsuch. And Chief Justice John Roberts voted for this. And the three minority voting justices were Ketanji Brown Jackson, Elena Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor, who were in the dissent. But you got to do some more research on this case, y'all. Louisiana versus Callais, Callais, Louisiana versus Callais. You could just Google Supreme Court decision, and this will come up so you can understand a little bit more. What I want you to understand right now, what can you do? I've been telling you this, and I'm going to tell it till the midterms. You have to look at your voting registration in your county to make sure you are actually active and properly registered. Just because you registered in the past does not mean you are currently registered. Listen to me again. Right now, because of new state laws, because of new imposed restrictions, many people who think they are active on the voting rolls in Florida are no longer active and don't know. And when they go to the polling places in the next election this year, they're going to be sadly mistaken, and they're going to be told, oh, no, you're not an active voter. Oh, no, your file isn't active. You can't vote. It's very, very disturbing. And what we can do about it is to check our voting registration right now. I don't care if you registered and you have voted the last 25 elections. It does not matter. Florida law has changed. And so for you and for your household, for your friends, your colleagues, your co-workers, your church friends, whoever, start talking about voting from now. Did you guys know there are a lot of people that are being wiped off the voting rolls? Ask them. When last have you checked your supervisor of election? Check your name. Make sure you are active. Because sadly, there are people who are being deactivated. And once they deactivate, they don't have to email you and tell you. They don't have to email you and even tell you. You deactivated. Good luck. So you come and you want to make a choice for who you want to lead and represent you. And there's no active voter registration. Sorry, can you vote? No. You've got to be on top of your voting status. Right now is the time to check. Right now is the time to check those in your household and in your family, your loved ones, your spouses, your cousins, and your auntie them and your sister them. Right now. We're not going to sit on our hands. It's easy. People are so overwhelmed. They want to sit idly by. No. This one right here is very serious. I'm going to see if I can schedule that special guest for tomorrow. I appreciate y'all locked in and listening and hopefully learning a little something. I got to go. I can't believe my time is up. I can go so much deeper into this. Thank you for everybody watching online. Shout out to all. Hey, guys. Those who are watching on the YouTube channel, big up yourselves. I see you. I appreciate you. I'm trying to get your name, but of course it's not going to come up while I hit the screen. Those who are listening on the app, those who are watching on the website, voiceofthecaribbean.com. Lock and load. Listen, today is an old school throwback Thursday. You will enjoy the mixes. You will enjoy each and every one of our DJs. Shout out to the whole squad. Don't go anywhere. That's it for me. Suzette Speaks. Thank you for listening. We got more music on deck with Lisa B right after this. Keep it locked.
W245BC, Lauderdale Lakes, 96.9 FM, the all-new voice of the Caribbean.
This is the all-new voice of the Caribbean. Better sounding radio. WLYF HD2 Miami, 101.5 HD2.
I'm literally drained, but you know, we got a job to do out here. So thank you for listening. Appreciate you. Hit the like button. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow. Lisa, what
Cleaning mode out there. I'm like, let me get out the way.
I was like, the bleach, I just take it over. How are you?
I'm fine, dear. How are you?
Excellent. I'm trying to turn this feed off. Of course, it doesn't want to turn off now that I want to turn it off. Boom, bum, bum. Somebody coming when we clean? Or they just clean in?